Ascoltala.
Hey, Black Hand Side Village. Thanks for tuning in for another episode. You are listening to the Black Hand Side podcast with your host, Patrick Arthur Jackson, and Jameer Jenkins, who is not here today. She had some rehearsals for an upcoming show. So we love you. We bless you, Jameer. Hope you're having a good time. I'll be sure to leave some information about how you can check that show out in the comments. But in the meanwhile, we have two special guests. It is Black History Month, and we have been just celebrating Black History Month on our own. We decided not to do a lot of episodes during Black History this month because we've been working hard. And we've been out in the community exploring and learning and connecting with the community. We love seeing village members in the St. Pete and Tampa Bay area. And speaking of Tampa Bay, I have two special guests for y'all today. I have connected with them probably over the last few months, like directly the most, but I've known about the work that they have been doing in the community for several years now. They are co-conspirators in creating a more inclusive community, not just here in our Tampa Bay region, but all across and in all aspects of their life. So please, put your hands, your virtual hands and your physical hands together for Hillary Van Dyke and Joshua Bean. Hey y'all, welcome to the Black Hand Side Village. It's official. You are officially a part of our village now that you're on the podcast. So welcome.
Hillary probably doesn't like that, but I'm happy to be here.
What? anything for Patrick.
So I thank y'all for being here, and I've wanted to talk to y'all a little bit about Green Book for a while. So this is really just a chance to explore kind of how that journey came about, what y'all are doing now, and what you see for the future, especially as Tampa Bay is shifting and growing.
Mm-hmm.
With culture and community. So tell me a little bit about how Green Book of Tampa Bay started. What is it, the origin story?
Go ahead, Hillary.
So Josh and I are besties, not married, just friends.
Someone asked me yesterday. That's another topic. So
do y'all get that a lot?
Yeah, everyone thinks that we're a couple, and we're like, he is a married man with all these whole-grown children. But we worked together at a middle school in St. Pete. Became really good friends through that, and both really were very community-minded individuals. A lot of the students we had came from difficult situations, and so we were always like trying to figure out how can we get involved in St. Pete in a way that might impact their lived experiences. We're not from St. Pete, but very much became part of the fold and tried to figure out how to be part of the community. So we tried many things and nothing really stuck or felt right or didn't feel like the thing that was missing. And Killer Mike had the TV show on Netflix called Trigger Warning. And I think it's the first episode. He tries to travel in whatever city he's in. Atlanta? I don't remember.
Atlanta.
Yeah.
And going to Athens or something like that.
Yeah. So he's trying to just live while Black for a whole day. And to him, he was saying that means what cab company he used, what just everything. And so he struggled with toothpaste, toothbrush. He couldn't find 100% of Black owned things. And so with that, towards the end of the episode, he said something to the effect of someone should start a Green Book of Atlanta. And we pretty much were just texting about the episode or talking about the episode. And we're like, yes, this is the thing. We're going to do it. And so we started the Green Book of Pinellas and Hillsborough County, which was a an online WordPress blog at first, was just literally a list of businesses. And then in the pandemic, we ended up accidentally blowing up. And what's crazy is right at the beginning of that, one community had asked us if we could build the directory to look more like a Yelp sort of directory instead of just a list. And so they funded us actually rebuilding the site into not this version, but the one before it. So right when we blew up, the site literally had just been finished. We were kind of beta testing it. And then suddenly people were using the website. We were like, oh my goodness. Since then, we have created a much more sophisticated website using really great platform. Yeah, and so we have over 1,000 businesses between Pinellas and Hillsborough listed. So that's the big thing is the Black owned business directory, greenbooktb.com. But we also do a lot of cultural events in the community, specifically focusing on art. This weekend, we are the nonprofit partner for the Black Art Gala at the Strass Center for Performing Arts, which will be super dope. We'll have visual artists, performing artists from 7 to 10. And then we also do a lot of things for the business owners, like business mixers, grant making whenever we can, just connecting them to different community resources. So yeah, we do a lot of things. And it's now self-sustaining, which is super cool because we used to have to like pay for stuff out of our pockets, and now we don't.
We love that. We love
That part
self-sustaining.
is very exciting as well. Yeah.
So talk to me a little bit about you mentioned that y'all like blew up. What contributed to that expansion? And did that like interest in the organization? Oh no, Josh is heavy breathing. He's like, here we go. What
Josh,
contributed to that blow up?
Josh, your turn.
We will. Well, first of all, like all the time we get oh, you're doing the thing like after the movie, the Green Book. We're like, well,
Wow.
no.
That's
Hillary's already
appropriate
teaching
reaction,
about this.
Patrick. Thank you.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, it's
Here we are.
much more deeper, intentional meaning behind what we do and the Victor Hugo Green. But anyway, so like Hillary was saying, I'm going to give our early website days more credit than Hillary probably is, but it was basic, y'all. When community stepped in right at the time that George Floyd was murdered, and that really catapulted, I think, our work as people were really looking for a tangible way to support Black folks locally. So we've said in countless interviews that like we were ready for the moment, however, we wish that moment never happened.
Right.
And then since then, we've also noticed whether it's website traffic or news channels reaching out for interviews, depending on what's going on locally or globally, we see this ebb and flow of interest. But there's also been people, I mean, not just business owners, but consumers rocking with us since day one. But we've kind of noticing what's going on, kind of dictates our traffic sometimes.
Yeah, this Black History Month is another month when people are like, oh yeah, Green Book. And we're like, oh, hey guys, we've been here, And we started in 2019. I forgot to say that. And so it was right when the pandemic shut things down. People were trying to figure out what was still open. And so that was when one community was like, hey, we know you guys have this list. Can you make it look more like this? And then after we finished, George Floyd was publicly lynched. And
yes. Call it out.
The things that happened, and that led to us, unfortunately, like becoming more known. Because honestly, it was like some influencer just like reposted something.
Bloggers and
local,
yeah.
Like we went from 200 followers, I don't know, maybe 300 followers to like
1,000 pretty quick. Like yeah,
like in a day. We were like, ooh.
I mean, we saw a surge. I would say across the country, in black owned businesses, Black orgs, just like focused on community. As a result, because people were looking for a way to, one, take their brains off of what we were dealing with around George Floyd, but also like start to give back. I'm curious, since then, have you seen, you mentioned like a growth in support for the other businesses in the area that are listed under y'all. Have you seen the growth be more authentic and intentional? I mean, yes, every now and then we get it's Black History Month, we want to do something. But have any of your partners like commented to you all that the intentional support has grown?
I don't know if it's grown, but it's definitely been at least steady. We do occasionally get stories about someone finding a business through the directory. One that we learned recently in June, or maybe it was in March, I don't remember. But last year, one of the DJs in the directory asked to volunteer his time to DJ for us. And then as he was setting up, he was like, oh, and basically told us this story that was at that point like 3 years old about this wedding planner who's in the directory was looking. She was doing a wedding for, I believe it was Filipino people, and there's like a particular like important thing they do as a part of the picture process, and so she was looking for like a photographer that understands that. Couldn't find anyone, and then just kind of, I think, was booking him to be the DJ, and he also does photography, or his company does photography as well. And it turned out he's half Filipino, and so he understood the thing. So now they work together on like loads of her weddings, and he's like, yeah, that's basically since 2020 or 2021. And so this is this thing that's been happening for several years that we didn't know about. But yeah, so there'll be stories like that occasionally, or just people, I went to my friend's wedding in November, and all her vendors were from the Green Book. And that wasn't something she had told me was gonna happen. I just was like, oh, I know you, and I know you. So just it'll be little things like that, and then monitoring the website traffic. We definitely know people are accessing the site, and hopefully that means they're then contacting business owners as well.
And Patrick, I'll say that, obviously the business component drove us to start this, and it is the backbone of what we do. But I'd say we have been so heavily in this art space, which I don't think we anticipated when we started. It's just been cup filling in a different way.
Yeah, where did that shift happen?
It was always kind of
go ahead.
There, but not prominent. And then as Hillary started buying more art, I started getting jealous and buying more art, and it turned into this like getting to know artists, local artists like Zulu and iBombs,
and I had like put a proposal to several museums and was like, hey, we want to do this exhibit of like artists in the Green Book. Nothing, literally nothing.
We'll talk offline about that.
And then
I have something for you.
Our business mentor was like, well, do you guys know Bob Devin Jones? We're like, yeah, he's, Studio 620. So she made the connection, and then since then we've had a art show every year for a full month that's up at Studio 620. Opening night, we also really showcase the visual artists that are in there, and like that first show really, I
get
feel
emotional.
Like,
just thinking.
Yeah, it was super magical. Like Siobhan Monique was our headliner, and she hadn't performed in years because of the pandemic. And it was her first performance in, what was it, 2 years or something like that. And it was just this amazing thing.
People were crying, Patrick.
Yeah, several of the artists after that, like we have seen how being in that show has helped people go on and get other shows and sell a lot of art. And so we've been super in the art space since then. And now we have a studio at the Warehouse Arts District, and we're doing a residency program.
Yes, congratulations.
Thank you. So for the artists listed in the directory, that opportunity to get to have a studio for a little while and just see what it's like, get to meet with other studio owners to learn about, like, is it worth doing that? Is that, cost worth it? And then, maybe they come out of it down the road and decide to do a studio, but either way, they got to have that experience. And then we also have an artist or an author in residency for the year as a part of that program. So that is crazy to me that we like have a whole studio space. And then we were really fortunate to work with Dallas Jackson to actually get that grant. So he's kind of like the head artist in that. And he's like so close to being like a world renowned artist, I swear. So the fact that he has any interest in like working with us at all is very exciting to us. But yeah, I don't know how we ended up in that space, but it's been really cool. My entire house is covered in art by Black folks in Tampa Bay. I have a mural on the outside of my house of a Black mermaid that Zulu painter did for me. Got 2 murals actually in the backyard from Black artists. So
yeah. I'm curious because both of y'all mentioned being collectors of art. Personal opinions, I'm curious, how does diversifying art that we see out in the community, not just murals, but just like up at coffee shops and in a dentist's office, how does that impact how we engage with people of color, or how does that just impact community, I would say, energy?
I mean, I think for me, a lot of the work I do is around normalizing blackness in spaces. Um, and so I do a lot of work
Hmm.
with that, with getting black folks outside, so other people are seeing us out there, but then they're seeing themselves out there, and so we're all starting to recognize that we belong in these spaces too. But I think the same thing, even if you think about the art at your hotel, like what would be the coolest is if we could get a contract with like a hotel to curate all of all the art in the place, right? And that would be just so interesting to be in a hotel that's just covered in black art. And it would be obviously amazing to us, but then what about all the guests that are coming and just starting to normalize like what black art looks like or can look like. Um, and then that it doesn't have to be art that I mean, like look at Josh, all his art is black. And so you don't have to be a black person to own black art. So just really differentiating what we think about as art, but then also helping people see that anyone can be a collector of this art, and that collecting is going to help boost your community while you're at it. And Josh, did you want to add something to that?
Yeah, it just goes back to really the message we've been preaching all along is and Hillary came with this is put your green and black, whether it's a business, whether it's an artist, how intentional are we with our spending? And that can diversify. Art's very vast and different mediums and different styles. And I just tend to want to be intentional. If I'm buying art, it's going to be a black artist, and Hillary feels the same way. And we're just keep going. We've got all our favorite artists that we've like purchased from now. Sometimes two.
No, I don't have any more space in my house, like at all.
So I don't want to make it a competition, but who are some of your favorite area artists?
Oh yeah, go ahead, Hillary. I got mine.
That's a good question. I'm just gonna say I think Zulu painter for sure. Um, if I go by the number of pieces I have from someone, I have to say like Zulu, eye bombs, uh, Rod, disruption, and and Tracy Jones. Tracy Jones, final answer.
Tracy Jones. I have to write that one down.
Yeah, a lot of the same, and I tend to like Hillary's theme. You'll see she just likes to a lot of black women is kind of like I think her go-to. I do tend to like more of a like edgier like street art, like so Fabstract is one of my favorite artists, and Eye Bombs. My crown jewel is Eye Bombs.
Eye bombs is.
I was jealous. I was salty of Hillary for years.
That's not the one though. The original one I got actually doesn't go with anything. It doesn't go with the vibe of my house, so it's actually at our friend's house.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
Shout out to eye bombs.
Yeah, I have this great like kind of 12 by 12 piece of Maya Angelou that Zulu did that I just treasure. So a lot of the same artists we love.
Yeah, so good.
What does it take to buy art? Because I know like growing up, I did not think I could buy art, and I do have a few pieces. I'm not there with y'all yet. I got a few pieces. I got a few Nick Davis pieces. And
we didn't even.
Yeah.
Please
It's okay.
forgive us. Please forgive us,
okay.
world, for not.
Listen,
Yeah,
we love a Nick Davis. Yeah.
And we both have.
And actually, my whole office, I have another mural I forgot about in the office that's from Wayward Walls, but he designed it after a Nick Davis piece I have, so the whole flow of the room is based on a Nick Davis piece. Yeah.
Okay, we might have to do a Black Hand Side Cribs tour.
Yeah.
Yeah, for real.
Listen.
I've gotten to know his wife pretty well, and I have 3 prints. I don't know if she's gonna sell prints anymore, but I have a George Floyd, John Lewis, and a Pac from Nick Davis. So he's probably the artist that I own the most pieces from. So I hate that I didn't mention him. So shame on me.
He is my first piece that I ever bought at the show at the studio. So what is the future of, in your humble opinions? Tampa Bay is shifting and changing and growing. Especially the St. Pete side is growing and changing in lots of different ways. What do you see the future of the art scene looking like in, let's say, the next 5 years? I know a part of that is the gas plant district and all of that, But how? What are your hopes and dreams for the art scene as it relates to performance, as it relates to visual, music, etc.?
Well, I feel like I'm trying to insert myself into a couple like development projects that are happening just to be like, hey, you know what would be great is a gallery for so I just think that being making that an intentional part of development projects that happen, especially because you don't even need that big of a space. You can slice something like that really easily out of a development project. So I think as we're doing all of this growing, that there I would hope that there's just more intentionality around like thinking about who you might be displacing and how you can more intentionally bring them and their businesses in. Um, I don't have any thoughts about the performing artists that I've thought through very precisely. So I'll let Josh.
And I was just having a conversation with the artist Tampa Janelle and talking about how there does seem to be a divide of like access and resources from
Yeah.
the Tampa side of the bridge compared to that's been a thing. It's same Heat's always been an art community, but I think of like WADA where we're at. I think of Creative Pinellas of like just these engines of creativity and really be intentional when it comes to BIPOC artists as a whole. I feel like this side of the bridge really shows some love, and I hope that doesn't wane, and if there's a new Carter G. Woodson, if there's a new performance hall, like it creates more opportunity. So cautiously optimistic. I'm hoping that we continue to see this trajectory.
Yeah. And I think they show love and they don't show love. And
Fair.
so the ways in which we have made this like exhibit be a thing, it's not happening in a museum, right? So at the end of the day, the studio shows are great, but like if you think about like a Nolan Anderson, that sort of trying to like block this light out. That sort of artist, ones you think you can like more traditionally probably get into a museum, like I do still think when you think about all of the museums we have here, that like we should really be seeing at some point and I think there was one a few years ago at the James, but that happened. That was one exhibit that did feature some local artists, but that needs to be happening more often. It shouldn't be just like a once every 4 years sort of thing. So I hear you, and I still feel like we're lacking in that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm listening. My computer's just about to die.
Oh.
So there we go. So I just want to dive deeper. I'm curious about this because Village, y'all know, I'm not at my previous job anymore at the theater I was working at. I'm at a new location working at a museum on the other side of the art sector.
Right.
I'm curious. To me, it feels like there is and for some of my Village members who do not live in the Tampa Bay area, you will not understand this. But all right, here we go. I feel like there's this like shift happening, like almost like a changing of the guard across organizations, and so I asked that because I do feel like more opportunities are going to come about to support local artists, and I think it's going to happen in St. Pete before it's going to happen in Tampa, just because of the way our city is set up. But even I'm on the task force for the cultural arts plan that Creative Balance is kind of like spearheading, and listening to that conversation, I was like, this is interesting because I feel like there's not like a balanced representation generationally.
Right.
And so to hear that, I'm like, we're missing out on a lot of organizations and smaller nonprofits that probably need to actually be at this table.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, how do y'all feel about? Am I the only one that's like sensing that shift?
No,
of changing of a guard.
I feel like in a lot of Black artists I've spoken to, they really feel like their community has grown, and they feel like really supported in each other and each other's work. I think Artist Jones just kind of posted something about that as well. My fear is that how do we, with cost of living, with everything, all the transformation happen, like how do we keep this growth and this sense of like, this peak in creativity and community together so that it can even prosper as people are being like forced out, can't live here anymore. Like,
Right.
I do feel like we're in a pretty dope creative space right now, St. Petersburg, and I don't want to lose that.
Yeah.
Well, there's something I read. Did I read that in the Catalyst? Maybe I read it in the Times. It was talking about how a lot more people, specifically like Black and Brown people, are moving out of St. Pete and are moving to other parts of Pinellas County. So Pinellas Park, Largo, Clearwater, etc. And so I'm interested if that is going to shift where the large artistic energy is, even though like St. Pete has always been known as this artistic hub.
Yeah. I doubt it. I would just say that. I mean, I think there might be other hubs popping up, but I do know a lot of artists. I just noticed my dog is in the frames.
Hey, dog.
I do know a lot of artists that don't live in St. Pete are still always coming down here for everything. So they might live in Tarpon, but literally have a studio down here. So it still kind of ends up being the place they know that they need to be seen. And then one thing about that cultural arts thing that you're on at Creative Pinellas, we saw that like 4 seconds before the meeting happened. And so we definitely would have had interest in being a part of it, but we just like didn't know. Like by the time we learned about the meetings, our schedules were crazy already. But we did speak to artists and hoped that some of them would go.
And Patrick,
There's still time.
I've gotten to know Ketsy very well.
Yes.
Ketsy over there, and just, soaking up her knowledge and her passion has just been really great. So yeah, shout out to Ketsy.
Yeah.
Hey, Ketsy. There's still time. The team is really eager to have as many people at the table as possible. Okay. And even the last meeting I went to, we talked. We were just getting the nuts and bolts about Pinellas County, but I love it. We talked about, for those of y'all who don't know, so Pinellas County is quite a large county as well as Hillsborough.
Huge.
And it has historically been divided into like a north-south is typically what people say, but it's technically like north, mid, south.
Yeah.
And so at the last meeting, we were talking about that, and Dr. LaDonna Butler was there, and I appreciate her being there because she kind of helped support some of the things I lifted up. And I was like, I am a transplant like many people here, but I also there's something in me that hears the words north and south, and I think, Civil War, I think segregation, and many people nodded. And what was interesting is that we had this conversation about what is the definition of art across the county, because there were some people at the table that mentioned there was an interest in having more arts brought up to other parts of the county, and I questioned that because at my previous company we had a tour that toured all across the county for free. And there were schools and partners that were in the north part of the county that didn't want the tour. Specifically, when we were doing a show that was a Latina adaptation of Cinderella.
Yeah.
So it was interesting. So I want the county to grow. I want St. Pete to grow, but I'm hoping that our definition of art can expand.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And I agree with it's giving Civil War.
I don't know why.
Yeah, we can speak about the geography differently. And I think the residents act like that a little bit too, though, where we act like we can't, drive to Largo for something.
And, I mean, it is a distance.
There's a big thing. There's a big festival in Largo, the Pinellas African American Heritage Celebration. It's worth a 30-minute drive from St. Pete. Super dope. Lots of vendors, food, performances. But yeah, just like it is a distance, but it's still worth the drive sometimes.
Oh, absolutely. I think it's activating that energy. Even the journey from going to my church that I'm at, we have two locations. One is in
Mm.
St. Pete and one is in East Tampa. And there is a hard understanding between certain parts of our church that they're like, I'm not crossing that bridge. And I'm like, but
Right.
it's the church anniversary. We're doing this big thing. Nope, I'm not. And it's on both sides.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
Josh, I saw you were gonna say something.
Well, just as we're talking about, North and South and Civil War energy and like, how it's state, like Black history's under attack. Um, I think that's even leans into more why art is even so valuable now because it tells so many stories.
Mm.
Dallas Jackson, who we mentioned, his art is steeped in history, right? So
Yeah.
where history might not be allowed in certain places, I think art can be an avenue to expose folks to different people, different places, different stories. So I think that's just why I really value and try to be intentional with the art I have in my office or
Yeah.
house. Because it feels like there's a freedom in that right now to really showcase storytelling in a different way that's not allowed in other places.
Mm.
Curious question for both of y'all. This is about some of y'all's work outside of Green Book. So for both of you, Josh, what does it look like for some of this artwork uh, to live in the center in whatever way, Center for Health Equity, as it relates to the center's mission, however that might
Yep.
merge? If you had a magic
I have
wand and could do it.
great news on that.
And Hillary, how has your journey been with your recent documentary?
Ooh.
And what was that experience like? So we'll start with Josh, and then I'll go ahead.
Yeah.
So as of right now, and I know I gave a shout out to Ketsi, we had back in October our Mi Gente, our Movida 2023 festival at the center, and she curated art that's still up to this day from mostly local, if not regional, Latin artists that really provides this just beautiful backdrop. The Chamber of Commerce had their annual meeting, 300 people, and there was a picture of Chris Stonecker with this amazing, Latin art behind him. So once again, going back, just the visual component of that is really powerful.
Mm.
And not a lot of people know this, but we just purchased a lot of Nick Davis art that we are going to have permanently in the center.
I'm excited.
So we are trying to be intentional, and the wall where all the Latin artists are is probably going to be like a rotating, like maybe every 6 months. It's a different theme or concept. Some, I've kind of talked to Hillary about, so I don't know what it looks like moving forward, but I just know we want to be super intentional with the art that's in that space.
That's
And
great.
as an art lover, I've kind of been tasked with ensuring that happens. So I'm here for it.
I love that. That is music to my ears. And Hillary, how was your recent doc debut? Talk to us a little bit about the journey of creating that and what's up with it next. I know some things, but for the people that are listening and watching.
There's this organization called Blue Gap funded by the National Science Convergence Accelerator. And they are concerned with teaching the Tampa Bay, Iowa, and Virgin Islands watersheds about nitrogen pollution in those water or in those estuaries. And as a part of that work, they brought on what they call alliance members to humanize the data sets they have. So they have all this data that will be on the platform, but they also wanted to like attach it to like real life things. And so in each watershed, there's two different alliance members, and I'm the one for the Tampa Bay estuary, or I'm one of the ones for Tampa Bay estuary. And for me, I was like, well, I'm not a scientist. um, I'm a citizen scientist, but all of these, science degrees y'all have, I don't have that. I was like, I don't know how to tell a story about nitrogen pollution, but I can tell a story about Black folks recreating in water, and you can help me correlate that to the fact that nitrogen pollution and pollution in general could impact your ability to recreate. So that was what my contribution was to create this documentary that I didn't even like really acknowledge or realize I had made a documentary till the debut screening. Like when we were at it, I was like, I made a documentary.
They called you a filmmaker. Like that was like, I think a moment.
Like me.
Isn't that amazing how art works? It's just like,
So
oh right, I did this thing.
it was Ryan Watson of Watchtower Films is also a professor at USF. He was the camera operator and editor, so we made a really great team. And it was like people don't know about me, okay? So once I got the green light, we were like, boop, just scheduled everything out. We were ready to go, and they were like, oh my god, okay, we gotta do the thing. So we did like some Zoom interviews with folks just to kind of get a read on what they knew. And then scheduled studio interviews. The research team helped craft some questions. And then I took those and added some more. And so then from the studio interviews, we did a lot of B-roll, like so many hours of it. So once all of the interviews were done, I sat and listened and transcribed all of it and was just like trying to figure out how to like, so it's kind of like categorizing all of the stuff into a flow that made sense. And then I created an editing script that was like way too long. So he edited a basically hour-long documentary, but our goal was 30 minutes. And so we were like, we need help because it's like a project where you've looked at it so much. You see what you want to say, but you don't know. You just can't anymore. So Maya Burke at the Tampa Bay Estuary program really helped us like trim it down into that 40-minute story, which was so helpful. So we down to the wire, like the day of the screening, we're still like, we'd be like, okay, it's done. And we're like, oh, there's this one thing that I saw. So literally, because he had uploaded the file version and then he found something later. So he like had the thing on the flash drive to bring it to us because he was waiting for it to upload. So it was really like down to the wire. Anyway, it's done and it has been accepted into the Black Arts Film Festival. So it'll be showing Friday at the Factory St. Pete. So that's our first official film festival. And then we have a screening at the Foundation for a Healthy St. Pete on April 18th, like a Earth Day sort of thing. So that'll be similar to the opening night where we have like a panel discussion as well. And I want to think through some community, like I think just because of the fancy things the foundation has, you can do a little more with like community questions. So yeah, we'll see. But yeah, that's what's happening with it within the next couple months. And then eventually it'll be like on the YouTube for the community for free. And we're building out the website so people can like access some study materials and things like that as you're like doing it, so you can have some like good conversation around it as well. And it's about Black people that get other Black people in the water in Tampa Bay. I don't think I said that.
I can't wait to watch it. I'm excited.
Are you going Friday?
I am booked, overly booked this weekend.
Me too.
We'll see.
Well, it'll be at the foundation in April, so you can.
I was just saying, I'm gonna have to. And actually, this is very random. We at the Woodson, we had a film screening that was scheduled for the same date as the one at the foundation.
Polita's.
Yes, so we shifted.
I talked to Polita about
that. She talked to me about that too, because she actually hadn't seen mine yet, and so she wanted to see it, and then didn't want to compete. But now she's coming Friday.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
It's gonna be good.
Her film is so good. It's so
yeah. Love Polita.
Yeah.
I'm excited to curate some conversation around it.
Yeah, it's really well done. And you know, my dissertation topic was on cemeteries and using them as places of learning, Black cemeteries specifically. So
yes, I saw that.
The doctor who was part of the conversation.
I shall reach out. I'll have my education assistant reach out.
Yes.
The assistant is me.
I know.
Y'all, this has been truly a joy. What a gift. So first, I want to say thank you. And then I'm going to prompt you. Typically, I ask this question: how are you existing in your Blackness? But today, I'm going to ask this.
You should ask it because Josh. Yes. Josh has an answer.
Just like, don't y'all do that.
No,
That's his answer.
let me say something real quick. When I opened up and said that Hillary probably doesn't like that, but I'm happy to be here, she does not like me associating with her black friends is what I meant. Not
Yes.
that she didn't want to be in this space. I wanted to clarify.
Yeah.
She's very territorial.
Very
And
territorial.
we're
They all
through
like
it.
him
We're
more than
working through
me.
it, Patrick. So carry on. What was your question?
Patrick, he got asked to be a speaker at the Black American Teaching at his school.
Well, I mean, wait, at Seminole Middle School?
Yeah.
Oh, I was supposed to do that.
Yeah, they asked Josh.
How was it?
Josh is not
On principle, I said.
so he was like,
Oh,
I probably
no.
shouldn't do this. But I'm
Thank you
sure
so
inside
much.
he was like, yes.
Anyways, you
So-
had a question for us. So.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Yes. So typically I do ask like how are you showing up, or how are you existing in your blackness today? You can answer that if you want to, or I can ask another question. It's completely up to y'all.
What was your other question?
The other question is, if you had a magic wand and the sky was the limit financially, what would you want to see in the arts community in Tampa Bay?
Oh, I have to like share the money.
No barriers.
So
No,
I can't
absolutely
take it and leave the country.
No, it has to be in Tampa Bay.
Okay. I would see a black art museum. That was a museum. It's like the Museum of Fine Arts, but for black people, black art.
And I think I'll answer, maybe almost create my own question. What was the first one? Say that again.
How you show up, or how you exist in your blackness?
I will answer how I show up in black spaces. And I think it's really important, that despite being involved with Green Book in Tampa Bay, and just because my art and my office covered with black artists, and I work at the Center for Health Equity, and we focus on racial equity, it's really always reminding myself that the work and the learning never stops, that I've never arrived, never taken the relationships I've built over the years for granted. So really just always reminding myself of that, because trust is a fragile thing. And so especially as a white man doing this work, it's just something I always think about and always value and always take very seriously. So that's my answer.
Love that. Well, Hillary, Josh, thank you so much for coming to the Village and experience the Black Hand Side. Until next time, y'all, check out the Green Book anywhere. Even if you're not in Tampa Bay, you can come out down.
Follow us
and
again.
visit
Green
us.
Book TB on Instagram and Facebook, and then greenbooktb.com to find and use the directory.
And if you are in the area this Sunday, please check out the Black Arts Gala. They can go to the Straz Performing Arts Center's website for tickets. Yes?
Yeah, you can also go to Green Book TB on IG and click our link in the bio, and you'll see it.
Wonderful. Very nice. Well, y'all, this has been another episode of the Black Hand Side. If you are listening and you would like to be a part of the Village, whether that is through sponsorships, whether that is through being on an episode, you can reach out to our assistant, JP. The assistant is me, y'all. At blackhandsidepod@gmail.com. And we would love to have you on, or love for you to be a part of the Village. Until next time, I'm Patrick Arthur Jackson, your host. Send some love to Jameer Jenkins, my co-host. Thank you for being Black. And if you're not Black, thank you for being you, because we need you too, y'all. So until next time, drink your water, mind your business, and we will see y'all next time. Bye.
Bye.
And